Yo, she fabricated that lie? Oh, interesting. What the? So even if we do not arrive at point B, we've already evolved. We've already improved. We've already changed for the better. Because experience always makes us better. And that is the meaning of experience, regardless of the outcome. Hello, friends. Welcome back to my detailed psychological analysis of Frieren, Season 2, Episode 5. My name is Benoit Kim, a UPenn educated licensed psychotherapist and your favorite yapper. Happy Frieren Friday. Shout out to Athathanation Zero, Tirtanas, Weishiang, Samsonian, Helixi, Jenny Chimaru, Roxy Love, Maxi TSC, and Adam Chavez for being the founding sponsors of my videos. Shout out to your support. What an awkward yet wholesomely lovely and lovelily wholesome date to Fern and Stark. They tried their best, and that is growth. Also, since there will be no Frieren next week due to Japan's Olympic coverage, we will release the highly requested Death Note episode 17 and 18, and it's an hour and a half long for those who've been waiting since last year. Thank you for your patience. Remember, you are worthy, you matter. Sit back, and I hope you enjoy today's episode 5.
北部高原にも町があるんだな。
からね。昔から醸造も盛んなんだ。
Bullshaft, what's that?
ってなんだ?
That's what I'm saying.
ハイター様から聞いたことがあります。
Oh, hold up. The fact that Heitzer the bishop talks about it is probably a type of alcohol. Exquisite liquor. Wow.
フリーレン様のせいで飲めなかったと嘆いていました。この町には長居したくないから買い出しを済ませたら。
フリーレンじゃないか。
Who's this? Who's this gnome?
100年ぶりだな。
80年ぶりだよ、ファス。
80
随分
years!
細かいな。らしくないじゃないか。顔ぶれが変わっとるな。
Your roster's changed. What is this, a freaking sports team? Your roster?
月の兄ちゃんは一緒じゃないのか。
Heitzer the bishop?
ハイターなら死んだよ。
Ah.
大往生だった。
そうか。一足遅かったか。皇帝衆。ボースハフトの所在が分かった。手伝ってくれんか。お前さん魔法が使えるだろう。
Oh, this gnome? Wait, gnomes are not part of this world setting, so he's a dwarf? I just thought about with his gnome hat, right? It's like from Christmas. Anyway, I guess this seemingly dwarf character said, I was too late. What happened to that guy who liked to drink? And it was obviously Heitzer, the bishop, who passed away. And there was that moment of silenceness, that somberness, that was them paying homage, memorializing and grieving the passing of Heitzer. And sounds like he was close with Heitzer. And what is Heitzer's biggest interest? Drinking. And what did this dwarf character just said? He found the legendary drink, Bullshaft, that was only for the emperor. That's why he said it was too late. I'm guessing there was a promise, and this was a callback to what Fern just said momentarily ago. Mr. Heitzer was lamenting about because of Frieren and the adventure, he missed out on this legendary drink, Bullshaft. Full circle. I think through this drink, through the location and finding of this legendary drink, Bullshaft, there's a callback and also memorializing and paying homage to Heitzer. A great character all around, despite his corruption of his love for alcohol. But we'll see what this really represents, since I'm sure Bullshaft isn't just about Heitzer. I'm sure there's something deeper.
と魔法に何の関係があるの?
それはわかる。
And he said it's been 80 years since he's seen Frieren. So what does that mean? He's been looking for this Bullshaft, the legendary drink, for 80 years? Dang, that's dedication.
ここだ。
これは
What is this tiny
行
tomb?
動ですか?
Oh, a mine?
一人で掘ったんだ。
Dedication.
わしは町育ちでな。 一から勉強して。
People think all dwarves are minors. Is that the first negative stereotype that's been revealed from the show? That's effed up. Why? Just because they're short and small and fun-sized? They belong in the mine and they deserve to dig through tunnels? That's effed up, yo.
たんだ。これも最上の名手のためよ。
Power of alcohol.
パス無類の酒好きで
Not even Heiter?
続けている。
Another through line of temporal perception. I thought 80 years. That was already impressive. He spent 200 years looking for this legendary liquor. I'm sure if Heiter were a longevity species like elf or dwarfs, I'm sure he 100% would have been on Fast's roster to look for this liquor. 200 years. I mean, at that point, isn't that pretty much your identity, your main purpose, your meaning? Dedicating 200 years looking for one thing. And I know dwarves are longevity species, but aren't their lifespan like 300, 350 years, if I'm not mistaken? So that you're spending 2/3 of your life for the objective of one thing. Wow, that is not just dedication, that is obsession and straight up purpose. Okay.
魔王討伐の旅の途中だったか
Demon King saving the humanity or looking for this liquor? Tough choice. This is the callback to Heiter's lamenting comment.
のが大変だったよ。お酒を探すのに
True.
もっとこの地下にボスハフトを貯蔵した遺跡が埋まっているという伝承があってな。
Interesting.
前、この石碑を見つけたことで、それが確信に変わった。
Whoa.
古エルフ語ですね。ボースハフトが最上の名士であることを称える碑文です。
Wow.
ミリアルでこの碑文を書いた人物でしょうか。
ジョーちゃんは博識だな。その年で古エルフ語。
Whoa, yeah, Fern. Respect.
小さい頃、フリーレン様に叩き込まれたので。魔導書の半分は
Oh
古エル
yeah.
フ語なんだ。
I remember
読めなき
the
ゃ話に
studio's
なら
time.
ないよ。
Yo, that's right.
やっぱりミリアルでか。
Oh, Frieren knows
こ
this
の碑文
character?
からボスハフトに捧げたわしの人生が始まった。
Life's purpose.
そしてそれはもう目と鼻の先にある。
遺跡が見つかったの。
ああ、遺跡まではたどり着けた。見た通り、石室の扉が開かん。酒を保存するための強力な結界が張られていてな。だが、お前さんなら破れるはずだ。
無理だね。
無理ってことはないだろう。
解除に時間がかかるんだよ。あの子たちはそれを嫌がる。
その分、報酬を出す。
魔
Grimoire?
導書。
来費金貨20枚出す。
20 gold coins.
にならないね。
Wait, what? What?
頼むフレイレン。
What? Frieren. Frieren-sama. You guys are freelancers. You guys are chronically unemployed. You're saying no to 20 gold? What? You guys already missed out on that magic nullifying crystals. Who you guys could have became billionaires and now you're missing out on gold? What's going on?
ボスハフトを飲むのはわしの夢なんだ。以上も探してきたんだ。
That's true. A life's purpose.
嫌だ。
Damn. Damn, she's cold. Interesting.
フリーレン様。
パスのじいさんがか
Old
わい
man,
そうだ。
old man fast. That's a callback to Old Man Vol. Or is Stark just calling anyone old man? Very endearing.
なんだよ気持ち悪い。フリーレン様、金貨20枚です。無品です。
Yo,
別に困らないぞ。
cash is king, man. When you're chronically perpetually broke, 20 gold is life-changing amounts.
でも
Man,
これ
cash
解
is
除
king.
するのに3ヶ月はかかりそうだけど。
Holy
短いじゃないですか。
Hold on. How? First of all, the fact that there's such a powerful barrier that requires Frieren-sama to take her, Frieren the Grey Mage, 3 full months to unlock, break. That level of magic is unbelievable and sounds like it's like an ancient magic type. 2, it's likely that the bow shaft is indeed buried inside. But of course, there's always cost and benefit analysis. I wonder why Frieren's saying no to Fast's request because she already knows him. They're familiar with each other. He made the same request 80 years ago. So there's already this relationship. And Frieren is not a cold person. She's very empathetic, although mostly through cognitive empathy. Regardless, she's very empathetic as a person. So the fact that she's very being cold seems interesting. I'm sure there's a deeper reason than just taking too long. Because when did Frieren ever care about time? Fleeting of time, especially when Fern and Stark are like 3 months is nothing. 3 months for 20 gold? No brainer. And I'm gonna overanalyze very briefly. I wonder it's the cost and benefit analysis that I just alluded to. For Fast, yes, that is his life's purpose. It's the meaning. It's his North Star, looking for this legend, in addition to his alcoholism. And for Frieren, I wonder it's the cost and benefit analysis of the benefit of 3 months and potentially fulfilling Fast's lifelong dream, his purpose, that will make his dream come true. Amazing. But the cost, the con is, what if there's disappointment? What if the disappointment is so grave, all this effort, 3 months of effort, is futile, it's fruitless. But it's not entirely fruitless because you still walk away from this transaction of 20 golds. And this is probably a reflection of Frieren's temporal perception and his centuries of wisdom, her eons of lifespan, that not every pursuit comes with great reward. Maybe a subtle callback to the hot spring episode in episode 4. Not every effort is worth, or not every pursuit is worth the effort. But again, that might be still an ongoing gap between Frieren's elf perception and the humanity's perceptions of effort versus outcome. Outcome does not necessarily dictate the amount of effort we want to put in. Just like ordinary experience does not necessarily mean the outcome would also be ordinary. Just like the first date between Fern and Stark. The experience and the date in itself from last week was very ordinary. But the memories, the feelings, the sentiment, and the overall experience was extraordinary, which I yapped plenty about last week, right? So I'm sure this is probably the difference between Fast's lifespan, but also temporal perception and his pursuit of goal versus Frieren's more stoic approach, more analytical, empirical approach. Like, there might be some disappointment.
お受けします
どうなっても知ら
Impressive
ない
barrier
よ
though, after all these years.
結界の解除も大詰めですね。明日にはもう終わるかな。
They're close. Oh, look at this mother-daughter, mentor-students
行
dynamic.
かない顔ですね。
Let's see. Let's see if I'm on the ball.
そうだね。ボースハフトはね、美味しくないんだ。人生をかけるほど価値があるものじゃない。でも、碑文には。
Frieren's had Boshaft? Makes sense. She's lived thousands of years.
エルフの中にはね、とんでもない暇つぶしをするやつもいるんだよ。
Like stay drunk? Oh, is that Boshaft? Oh, the person who wrote the inscription was an elf. That makes sense. Another longevity character.
私たちエルフは長い人生の中で何かを探求することが多い。
Searching for something.
なぜだと思う？
なんで？
私みたいにならないためよ。何の価値もないゴミだった時のことを想像できる？
Existential psychology.
遠い昔の。
Is that Boshaft?
やっぱりまずいわね、このお酒。
割られた最低の安酒だね。
Boshaft, that's the awful cheap liquor. Whoa, this is expectations versus reality. The legends, the folklore. For people who maybe from hundreds and thousands of years later, it became the legendary liquor because it's about scarcity. The market always determines the price and the worth of an item. And if there is a few supply and there's a high demand, regardless of the actual value, the perceived value will be high. That's Boshaft. This is economics 101, right? Before Frieren and Millard, who have actually had the opportunity to taste this because they're immortal species, they know this shit is cheap. Wow. The discrepancies between the actual taste and the reality of this Boshaft versus the legends that's been passed down generations after generations. Scarcity, man.
私、この里に来る前に ハフトは最上の名手であるって。
Yo, she fabricated
それ
that
に
lie?
何の意味があるの？
意味なんて何もないわ。
Oh, interesting. That's fascinating. Okay, here's some over yapping. Here we go. So that conversation actually sparked, obviously I talked about, it's definitely about existential psychology, search of meaning. Reminds me of this book by Viktor Frankl, The Man's Search for Meaning. Probably one of the most famous survivors in human history. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist. He went to Auschwitz during the obviously Nazi encampments and all that. The reason why he was able to survive, whereas a lot of his academic folks who are not able to survive ended up dying in Auschwitz and Germans encampments, was because he had two purposes. That's why he wrote this seminal work, The Man's Search for Meaning, because his ability to survive was based on his psychological search and fixations on meaning, purpose. He had to survive for one, his wife, who unfortunately passed away in a different camp, which he didn't realize until he was liberated years later. But one of his two purposes was an image of his wife's picture. That image kept him alive because our willpower determined the outcome of our livelihood. Even when physically, physiologically, we are torn, beaten down, literally, tortured, tormented. When we have enough psychological willpower, emotional willpower, we can override and overcome some of our biological limitations. That is the power of our will. That is the power of our determination. Second reason and second purpose that allowed him to cling on, survive through all that torture, while again, a bunch of his colleagues who went into Auschwitz together died, gave up, was his script. He had a manuscript which was taken away in the beginning, but he memorized everything, was logotherapy. That finished right here. Logotherapy is the psychological orientation, psychological framework, and a modality that he pioneered. Viktor Frankl. Logo means purpose. Therapy means obviously therapy. So it's about therapy of finding purpose. That's what logotherapy is. He argues that when a person lives without a meaning or purpose, the experience of this lived experience becomes colorless. It's the purpose fundamentally. It's the very fabric of purpose having meaning. Finding meaning in this seemingly meaningless world gives us that fuel, that fire to keep on going. Again, the most famous case study is himself, Viktor Frankl, right? And that also teeters into another very famous German philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche's in his, I think it's 1882 seminal work, Gay Science, right here. In his seminal work in 1818 too, Gay Science, he proclaims famously, God is dead. I think within his sections of, I think it was about madmen, like literally men going mad, going insane because God is dead. He was not necessarily talking about religiosity of a God, but rather the void of emptiness, the crisis of meaninglessness. Because when God is dead, we fill in that void with something else. When there's no more meaning spiritually, you fill in that gap with earthly, superficial, substanceless meaning. Regardless, his point was when one loses its meaning, although I would argue Nietzsche was a hopeful, optimistic nihilist, right? And nihilism just means you believe there's no meaning to anything. He believes that when the world is meaningless, we have to imbue meaning. So both Friedrich Nietzsche, in a way, and Viktor Frankl, they both argued that we have to find meaning in this meaningless suffering, not to invalidate and minimize our suffering, but rather to find empowerment. Because if there is a constant fixed suffering, that there's nothing else we can do about it, what do? We have to look for a different perspective. We have to empower ourselves, derive meaning to survive the meaningless suffering. And suffering is not the same as pain. Pain is psychological and emotional and physical. Suffering is more existential. It's all encompassing. It's all of the above, right? So talking about Frieren's conversation with Millard, it speaks to what was the point of that? Nothing. She wasted the gift of immortality because she was unable to find meaning, purpose. And I think Frieren learned that not every pursuit, not every action will yield an outcome. But If you look at the core thesis, core tenets of existential psychology, humans will imbue and humans will sacrifice everything for the sake of their purpose because of the meaning they're choosing to imbue with it, regardless of objective. Even if the objective is futile, doesn't matter. Because it's the very purpose, it's the sacrifice in itself that makes it worth it. How many times have we, like, think about this, right? I know this is a long yap, but it's really, really important. So many of us, we get caught up in the outcome when we start to begin the pursuit of this journey. Like going from point A to point B, right? When we left our point A in pursuit of point B, we're only thinking about point B without realizing that by us beginning our pursuit, embarking on this journey, we've already changed throughout the process. Let that sink in. Who we are after we begin this journey of pursuit is not the same person as we thought who wanted to begin this pursuit. I know it's a little bit wordy, right? Who we are is not the same the moment we started to begin that pursuit of whatever goal. So we've already changed throughout the process of this journey. So even if we do not arrive at point B, we've already evolved, we've already improved, we've already changed for the better. Because experience always makes us better. And that is the meaning of experience, regardless of the outcome. And I think that's the reason why Frieren said no in the beginning. It's like, fastest pursuit, his purpose, his meaning is probably going to be meaningless. Because I know this whole thing is a fabrication, because I knew Millard. We've had this exact conversation. But for Fast, Fern, and Stark, and the rest of humanity, it doesn't matter if the outcome is meaningless. Because the pursuit in itself, having that purpose, imbuing and attaching our identity to this thing that we call purpose, that is bigger than what we are, in itself is meaningful enough. That's all that matters. Again, going back to the hot spring episode, it's not the actual hot spring on the top of that mountain, that tiny foot bath, but rather it's the experience of getting there, the shared struggle, and taking in that scenic view as a team, creating new memories. That's what made it extraordinary.
いよいよだな。
Let's go. Final step. Oh. Oh. Dude, he's gonna be so disappointed. This cheap ass liquor.
口にできる日が来るとはな。祝杯だ。お前らも飲め。
Nice. I mean, they're underage, but. Oh! Tastes like shit or what?
俺は
The worst liquor I've ever tried.
フリーレンなぜ断ったんですか
Alright, let's see what her real reason is.
ハイターってお酒好きでしょ。
当たり前です
Yo, even Heiter's voice is more down because he's bitter. Speaking of liquor.
断言したぞこの生臭
Ah.
もしも人生をかけて探したお酒がとんでもなくまずかったらどうする？
そうですね笑い飛ばしますまずい酒なんでしょならみんなで楽しまないと
Nice. Nice. Heiter, what you said exactly what I said. Just having the power of meaning and purpose in itself is worth it, regardless of the outcome.
なんというか。
It's so bad. Nice.
まずいね。今まで飲んだどの酒よりまずい。
But she's smiling.
シュタルクも飲んでみな。
やだよまずいんでしょ
いいから飲みな。
Oh, damn.
クソまず
Wait, Stark, why did you take 2 gulps? Just take 1 sip. He's like, F it. Because he gets it. This is a callback and a parallel process with the hot spring episode. Same thing. The journey was terrible. The food bath was terrible. But just having this experience with that you cherished together is invaluable. It's priceless. Aww.
これだけあるんだ。町の奴らも道連れだ。
Over 200 years. Over 2/3 majority of Fast's lifespan, under the presumption that dwarves live about 300, 350 years, give or take, right? The outcome was absolutely futile and meaningless, as Frieren suspected and predicted correctly. Yet, Fast is able to laugh it out loud, like what Heizer just said. I'll probably laugh it off and enjoy it with friends. That's why Fast and Heizer liked each other. That's why Fast also wanted to find this Boscheft for Heizer, because he knew they think alike, gray minds think alike, regardless of alcohol involvement or not, and they'll appreciate it and cherish it anyway. With that laugh, literally Fast laughing out loud, did you sense any regrets, any bitterness, resentments? Like, fuck, why did I do that? I spent majority of my life over this piece of crap liquor? No, none of that in his tone. His pure bliss of laughter. All the memories, all the efforts, all that pursuit gave him enough meaning. That purpose and meaning in itself were worth it. Doesn't matter, because Fast is not who he was when he first embarked on this journey to find Boscheft over 200 years ago, and who he has become today. He relinquishes the memory, the journey. Beer. Literally says beer. Ayo.
お前さんたちがここにいてくれてよかった。
Me too. Yes, sir. Also, although I don't drink, and as you guys know, I've been sober for 6 years from alcohol. Alcohol is alcohol, right? Obviously, I still remember my drinking days, right? Because I used to drink a lot. After the 4th or 5th drink, they all taste the same. Whether it's $250 whiskey or freaking $5 vodka, after 5-6 drinks, they all taste the same. Right? Of course, different effect and outcome, but still. So after a while, doesn't matter if it's cheap or expensive. It's all the same. The memories, the laughter, the joy, right? All that dopamine, those are real. Aww, look at that contagious laugh. Man, I love this show, dude. It's so wholesome.
シュタレク様の分のパンです。
What is that? That's bread?
聞いたかこのパンごとって
Yo, that's a brick.
食べ物が出していい音じゃねえ
I agree.
なんかずっとこのガチガチのパンですよ
Oh my gosh, listen to that
贅
crunch.
沢言わないの。
Oh, Baron. Okay, makes sense.
これが主食だよ。
Jeez.
悲しい
Yo, despite their newfound wealth of 20 golds, they're still eating brick hard bread, stale bread. And I guess stale bread in this also symbolizes the northern plateau. Everything's plateaued. Nothing good grows and goods cannot circulate because the plateau. That is how deprived this land is. Because of, again, all the monsters, demons, and so on.
立派な城塞都市だな
Wow,
ノル
impressive
ム商会
indeed.
の所領だよ。中心にあるのはその本部だ。
Impressive this. Hmm.
せるだけの流通網と軍事力を持っている武装商会だ。
Wow.
国家の手が及ばない。北部高原の人類圏の事実上の支配勢力。
Damn.
でも
That reminds me of like how like massive bureaucracy and companies that are deemed as too big to fail, right? Obviously, if companies like Amazon, Apple, or like Samsung in Korea, because Samsung produces, I think like 5 to 7% of the entire country, South Korean's nominal GDP. That is absolute bonkers because it is a company, right? So with those companies, if they fail, it will literally cripple the entire ecosystem because everything is interconnected, globalisms or otherwise. So this, whatever the norm trade logistics company, the castle, I think kind of represents the too big to fail companies of the modern context.
立てばいろいろ変わる。もうノルム商会に前ほどの力はないのかもね。 波風は立てないようにしないとね。
When's the last time Freeman's been here? Sounds like it's been a while.
一級魔法使いのフェルン様ですね
Hey yo,
どうぞお通りくださいそちらは
bro, why are you frowning? Show some respects. That's Frieren the Grey Mage sama.
少々お待ちを
They look down at something. What the? What is that? Wait, is Frieren on a ancient wanted list? What is Frieren FBI's top 10 wanted criminal? What is going on?
紹介長のノルムです。勇者
Dude, can we just recognize the comedic elements of names in this show? My name is Norm. I am the president of the Norm Company. Bruh. I'm dead.
会フリーレン様。80年前の借金。耳を揃えて返していただきましょうか。
What?
フリーレン様、借金なんてしていたんですか？
What? For 80 years?
ちょっとね。
マジかよ。
Huh?
返すのはいつでもいいって。
書面上ではそうなっておりません。口約束はいけませんな。先々代はそこらあたりが甘かったようですが、私はそうはいきません。
No wonder they're called a logistical company. Bro, legality out of your ass. Verbal agreement is not sufficient. Handshake agreement voided. I'm not as lax as my predecessor, my whatever ancestors. Written explicitly or not. That is, I guess, the nature of legal agreements. I'm dead, yo. I could already smell bureaucracy just through the screen.
ドラール金貨が3枚、来費金貨が20枚、銀貨に銅貨。ちょっとした貴族並みの資産ですな。
That's a lot of,
でしょ
yeah.
先々代のノルム教には世話になったからね。釣りはいらないよ。
Wait, is there interest?
全く足りませんな。
What?
ちょっと私の旅に
What? What? She is whatever amount of gold and silver they put on the table is equivalent to the wealth of a minor noble. But it's not enough. With that freaking evil smirk, the Norm, the president's like, you still have to work 300 years in the mine, despite you and the heroes party defeating the Demon King. Freaking Norm, without Frieren and the heroes party, you would have nothing. Because the Northern Plateau is like the frontier against the demons, right? Like, where is freaking gratitude, you greedy piece of S? Like, really? Man, these freaking bureaucrats. This also reminds me of a very famous phenomena that happens in bureaucratic settings like the government or the public sector. We call it the talent flight. Definition right here. Talent flight. That's when great talents tend to leave bureaucracy and public sectors because they're just so jaded and boggled down by endless bureaucracy. To have a meeting, to induce positive changes, you have to schedule a meeting. To have that meeting, to talk about what you want to have in that meeting. So you have to have 4 different meetings before the actual meeting to discuss positive changes. And imagine you compound that and you iterate that on every level: municipal, county, state, federal, Congress. Like, right? As you guys know, I'm a former policymaker. I spent several years working as the youngest policymaker at my NGO, non-governmental organization at the time. And I got jaded and I left because I saw myself sacrificing a part of my soul trading for the sake of utilitarian impact. I knew I will become a different person. Speaking of journey, changing who we are, I knew I will become a different person by the time I arrive at the air quote promised land of being an effective policymaker who can help hundreds and thousands of people with the signing of a bill. Politics is literally trading souls. You have to give up your soul because that is the paradigm, that is the institution, that is the system. And one man cannot fight against the system because system is also comprised of hundreds and thousands of people, individual decision makers, and so on. That's why a lot of great talents, and I think people who are in governments for the right reason, end up leaving. That's a talent flight phenomena. But what does that create? People who end up staying in government and bureaucracy for the wrong reason. They end up staying and surviving the torments, the Dante's Inferno, 9 levels of hell of bureaucracy. And they end up become people in power. And why do you think change is slow? Because people who end up surviving and enduring all that years, decades and decades of bureaucracy to become power holders, decision makers, they don't want to create any meaningful changes. Why? Because they suffer for so long to get there. So why would they change the rules and regulations that benefit the policyholders? Does that make sense? So good people leave, and people staying for the wrong reason, they become powerful. This is what this reminds me of. It's this brainless, thoughtless, heartless bureaucracy that forces Frieren to do mine work for 300 years. I'm sure they're going to get away from it because they're not going to spend the next, 5 episodes just about Frieren slaving away at the freaking mines, right? But comedy aside, it just doesn't make sense. They're forcing her to do all this labor work. Frieren the Green Mage. Despite every humanity owes the Heroes Party's tremendous, priceless debt. Man, this is the reason why bureaucracy, the government, is a behemoth monstrosity of incompetence. Man,
何を言っているん
I'm
です
getting
か
triggered.
フリーレン様というかその格好は取られちゃった
What a BS. Load of horseshit. What the? Bro, I bet those people, they're not even warriors. They're probably just people who are bald, who are kind of big muscles, but no power, like. Obviously non-threatening.
だこ
Man.
フリーレン様を買い戻すしかないですね
れそんなものみたいに
I know, she's
残
not
念
a
ですが
commodity.
あなた方にはどうしようもないこ
Oh
と
my
です
gosh, Norm.
見なさい。
借用書の利息通りならシュトラール金貨500万以上ですね
北側諸国で最も信用のある来費金貨換算でも300枚を超える。あ
Whoa!
なた方に都合できるのですか？
これは無理ですね
マジでどうしよう300年も待って
Dude, in some senses, some bureaucrats, like I talked about, again, I definitely got a little bit triggered from my jaded policymaking days because I'm out of corruption, man. Anyway, some bureaucrats are as bad as some demons. Demons actually eat humans because that's who they are. It's their wiring, their genetic makeup, it's their instinct. So in a way, it's not really evil because they're just doing what animals do, animalistic. But humans, they have a choice of humanity. They have a choice to not engage and indulge in greed. Yet, like Norm, case in point, he's a poster child for greed and bureaucracy. They're choosing to do bad things. They're choosing to be heartless despite being a human being. Like, that's why some bureaucrats are freaking bloodsuckers. They're like leeches, parasites.
ねえよ
Man, like politicians. Oh, trying to not cuss.
鉱山
Well, no shit, Frieren. Who likes mines, dude? Yo, look at these people. Are they from the One Punch Man universe?
紹介長から話は聞いております。フリーレン様。
じゃあ始めようか
Can't she just use magic? Yeah, I'm sure she could condense 300 years of work in one day. Let's go. Whoa! Oh! Whoa! Yo, peak. Oh my goodness. Yo, peak action. What the heck? This was so unexpected. What is that? Gold searching? Whoa! The Milky Way galaxy or what? What the heck's going on?
確かですね。
私を誰だと思ってい
Yeah,
る
what
の
the fuck? Bitch, sit down, dude. Fucking sit down. How dare you freaking question Frieren the Green Mage? What the? I just backhands. Also, yo. Can we just appreciate the storytelling and the writing of this show? We just experienced one of the most peak build-up of Frieren's greatness as a mage. Not her against the demon, not her against a monster, but her against her financial debt. That freaking cinematic peak build-up was literally about her helping the miners to find gold in the mines to pay off her debt. In that sense, one thing, one entity that is more powerful than the Demon King, the whatever 7 great sages, was or is the financial debt. Yo, Frieren-sama, you... Whew, this show is amazing. My goodness. What a cinematic scene, dude. That was insane. Did they find it? Hella gold?
先々代のノルム教はもともと北部高原に追いやられた地方貴族で
Ooh, yo, Frieren's definitely bitter, right? She's salty and she's kind of low-key mad. She's dissing him and now she's doing psychological tactic. She's putting him down verbally and psychologically by saying that Norm, the president of 2 generations ago, aka 200 years ago, who came from the backwater noble of the edge, literally the edge of the northern plateau, not even a noble of the core members. Wow, what a flex.
相撲で貧しい北部高原に資金を投入して流通網を作り上げ
He was a
人
great
々に
man.
安定した暮らしをもたらした英雄だ
Yes.
当時何の期待もされていなかった私たち勇者一行に無期限で資金提供したのもノルム教
They believed in the party. That's amazing.
まさかその子孫からこんな仕打ちを食らうとは思ってなかったよ
Yeah, you freaking new Norm, freaking blood-sucking, leeching, parasite, freaking bureaucrat. Gosh.
でもわざわざ鉱山まで訪ねに来るってことは何か考えがあってのことかな
Let's see Norm's
北部
redemption
高
arc.
原の物流ひどいありさまでしょ
そうだね
うで
The
しょう
brick bread.
私もあれは好きじゃない北部高原の情勢が悪化してから
Damn, that's a lot.
失いました
Wow, that is a lot. Jeez.
流通網も壊滅的
Oh, man.
滅んでいる 資金さえあればいくらでも立て直せる
Hold on. Who is the face in the back of that coin? I saw the elf here. Was that the goddess? Is goddess an elf? Huh.
あなたが敵だと思いましたよ
Ching ching.
紙切れ同然だった勇者一行の借用書に大きな価値が生まれた
Yeah, it is an elf.
この鉱山は開発中のものフリーレン様ならそれを見つけるのも容易なはずです
Ah.
なるほど
I see.
その紙切れで私に言うことを
Yeah, coercion. True.
北部高原の民をお救いくださいフリーレン様
I take a lot of my diss and, okay, the norm, the presidents, I guess you have a heart of gold. You're coming from a compassionate lens for the humanity. What I do strongly dislike is the order of operation. You should have flipped the order. You start with the transparent and honest plea. You make that emotional request that, yes, I have to coerce you, Frieren-sama, not for my own greed, not for the sake of bureaucracy sake, not for the sake of our trade company in its selfish interest, but rather, if we fall, entire logistic network fall, and many people will indeed and evidently die and starve. That is true. So why don't you start with that plea? Make a request, humble yourself, and then use that coercion tactic. Because you do what you gotta do as a trade company, right? A debt is a debt. Agreement is an agreement, legally speaking. Now, of course, Frieren will honor that legality. Yet, but he chose the other way around. And I think that's like the human way of thinking. You want to start with power, dominance, like game theory. You want to start by putting them down, cornering them through power, legally, psychologically, whatever. And then you plead the emotional aspects. But that impact is half-folded. It's not as powerful and resonating. For how great of a Frieren-sama is, she would appreciate the other way around. But to Norm's credit, this is one human nature Humans like to operate from a self-centered point, and we think power works. But power does not work against a character like Frieren-sama. She's only obliging because she wants to, not because she has to. No one can coerce her to do things she doesn't want to, because she is the Green Mage. But the second thing, the deeper layer, is again the gap. This inheritance gap between humans' way of thinking and Frieren's way of thinking is not the same, right? Makes sense.
したたかなところはノルム教と変わらないね。
I guess he is a businessman
ま
at
った
the
く
end
こ
of
れ
the
だ
day.
から商人は。わかったよ。それで手を打とう。
But she's smiling.
恩は返すつもりだった。
See, this is the great character of Frieren. She is as scrupulous as ever. She stands by and abides by her principle, period. No matter your methods, how shrewd he is, just like his grandfather, a debt is a debt. An agreement is an agreement. That is her principle, man.
まさか本当に銀行が見つかるとは
Damn! Of course, bro. You literally utilized Frieren the Grey Mage to find mine, silver, ore for you guys. The chance of failure, 0, baby. Come on. Sit down and be humble.
よかった。どう助けるか話し合っていたんだぜ。
今夜には鉱山を襲撃する。
もう血の気が多いんだから。
Yeah, so that's right. So through that coercion with the compassionate lens underneath, 300 years in mind, the norm knew, Frieren knew, it will only take 1 day or whatever, a couple of days, right? So yes, it was a benign coercion, but still my point stands. Coercion nonetheless.
それより二人とも。られるよ。
Soft bread versus bread that will give you
どういう
concussion.
ことなの？
Amazing. All right, as always, enough yapping for today. If you enjoy my in-depth analysis before taking a week off of Frieren because of, again, Japan's Olympics coverage, smash a thumbs up. Please support your favorite yapper. Our engagements lately has been really struggling. I don't know if it's the shift in algorithm, and I'm not alone. Even bigger creators or creators my size, you can see their engagements have dipped despite the same constant quality. So please help us out. I hope you guys encourage us keep going. A lot of anime reactors like Euro Brady, Psychotrist, I know their work pretty well. They gave up doing anime reactions entirely. I think like a year ago. They only do gaming content because there is less censorship. There is more viral content, more engagements. But I'm not going to do that, as I said in my Apothecaries episode 24's conclusion. I'm going to do what I feel called to, feel authentic to. But that means the uphill battle is going to be more and more difficult because I'm fighting against the algorithm of YouTube. So your support, you commenting for engagements, algorithm, and really smashing that thumbs up and subscribing really helps our channel going. So please do that. And remember, as always, we appreciate you guys for tuning in week after week. Remember, you are worthy, you matter, and I hope you value not the outcome of your pursuit, but the purpose and the meaningfulness of your journey. As always, till next time. Peace.